On the second day of Gen Con 50, I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with a man who really doesn't need much introduction for those who play role-playing games, Monte Cook of Monte Cook Games, which is an amazing title for your company. How did you come up with that?
We thought long and hard about that. Yeah, we struggled with it, but...
Well, one of the great things is that everything you've come out with so far, Numenera, the Strange, the Cypher system, which is kind of a generic role-playing system. You've got an amazing product on the horizon we're going to talk about a little bit. No Thank You Evil. Everything that you've done has been so well received. Everybody really loves all your RPGs. And you got a lot of people working hard on them.
We've got a full-time staff of people who I have worked with in one way or another for years now.
Sure.
And, that I know we can trust. We all work really well together as a team, and I'm really happy with what we've come up with.
And I want to give a special shout-out to Shanna Germain, who does a lot of the creative work on the creative end, correct?
Right, absolutely. So Shanna and I founded Monte Cook Games together, and basically it was back then. This would have been 2012, right? We were, I wanted to do this crazy Numenera thing, and she started kind of looking at what I was doing. She said, "I want a part of this, right?" And we've worked together ever since. And so Shauna is also a designer for us. She wrote a novel, The Poison Eater, that we published earlier this year. We worked on No Thank You Evil together. She was really the lead on that. We've done Numenera stuff together.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why I wanted to give her a special shout out, because I don't have an opportunity to talk with her today. But, I mean, she's critical to the success of your company.
Absolutely, yeah.
So keep up the great work, Shauna. Thank you. But back to yourself, Monte. So I have to ask, I'm sure a lot of people, Numenera, The Strange, those have been out for a bit. Everybody's very familiar with that. One question I definitely wanted to ask was about No Thank You Evil, and I believe you have an expansion that came out called Oh No Monsters?
Oh Monsters.
Oh Monsters, okay. And there have been a lot of companies that have tried to kind of target younger role players, kind of introducing them, having like their parents maybe run games, or even the kids themselves.
Right.
And they really haven't taken off. I don't know, maybe they just haven't grabbed people until No Thank You Evil.
Well, our goal with No Thank You Evil was to create a game not necessarily for kids, but for families.
Yes.
So No Thank You Evil is set up so that you can play the same game with, a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, an 11-year-old, and mom and dad, right? And because that's what everyone had. Nobody's got a group of 7-year-olds, right? But
that's my gaming group. I like to GM for 7 and 8-year-olds.
But, everyone, a lot of people have a family with kids of different ages,
sure.
Right? And so the game has different levels of complexity that can be used at the same time. And I think that that's part of the magic. But, it's also just a very fun, whimsical setting that we've attached to it. Pretty simple, straightforward rules. And I think rules that really encourage the kind of things that we want to encourage in our kids. There's a rule in there just called Be Awesome, right? You can spend points out of your awesome pool and just help anybody,
sure,
right?
Do awesome things.
Right, exactly. And so, we tried really hard to kind of approach it from that point of view.
Nice. And, it was nominated for different awards and everything, so nicely done.
We won the Origins Award for Family Game this year,
Yes, you did. Very nice. Very nicely done. And so one title that recently Kickstarted, it's going to come out next year. I believe the Kickstarter backers get it in February. It's going to hit retail in March. What is that title coming out, Monte?
Oh, I can't tell you. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, it's called Mystery Game.
It's called Invisible Sun. And Invisible Sun is a game about mysteries and secrets but it's also about sort of surreal magic. It takes place in a very surreal world. It presupposes that the world that we understand is really just a shadow of the true world, which is called the actual.
So it's based on real life. Okay.
And one of the themes about Invisible Sun is escape, and so characters escape from shadow and go into what we think of as the real world, and go into what is actually the real world. In the same way that we as players, could maybe use a little escape now and again,
especially these days.
And go off into a world where, things are surreal and weird, but in a good way.
Right. And it is jam-packed with goodies, because I know there has been some discussion among gamers about the price point of Invisible Sun and kind of the investment to get started, but there's a lot there.
If you're familiar at all with like some of the great board games that are out there, like I'm a fan of Fantasy Flight, big board games, right? You're
epic.
You open up that box and you're pulling out cards and pieces and counters and all this really cool stuff.
It goes on forever. Sometimes.
I wanted that experience for a role-playing game, right? I wanted that deluxe, wow, we've really got a cool setup here on the table kind of experience.
So you made a role-playing game for the elites?
No, I would not say that. I would not say that. But I look at it, not to get too philosophical here, but I kind of look at it as like, gamers often can't get together as often as we would like, right? We've got busy lives, busy schedules. Sure. So when we can get together and have all of us sitting around the table, let's make a big deal out of it, right? Let's celebrate that. And so that's kind of what Invisible Sun's all about.
And the way I also sort of look at it, too, is many of the popular role-playing games that are out there, sure, the core rule book hardcover might be $50. But you can never really play with just the core rule book. You need a player's guide and a GM guide and then the monster manuals. So really all that adds up to about the same anyway.
It does, because, on top of all the cards and the counters and the pieces and everything, you're getting 4 big hardcover books inside that box, right? You're getting a whole campaign, a whole, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and folks are going to be watching footage of it as they're listening to us talk as well. What's on the horizon that you might want to discuss that's coming from Monte Cook Games?
Well, so we just announced yesterday that we are doing something we're calling Numenera II.
Okay.
Which is going to be a 2-book set. First book is called Numenera Discovery, and it's a slight revision of the original rules.
Okay.
Nothing that's going to invalidate products that you've already got, or it's fully compatible with all the other.
Yeah, you're not Games Workshop. I get that. Right. See, I can say that.
I can't say that.
Right. I can.
And then the second book is called Numenera Destiny, and it's all new stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it's all about building. You taking the stuff that you find as you explore these ancient ruins in Numenera and building things of your own, right? Okay. And so what we say is, Numenera is about exploring the ruins of the past to build a better future.
Yes.
Right? And so this is the better future part.
Sweet. Very nice. Any other items that are out there available from the company that maybe you feel deserve a little more love, maybe people don't talk about enough?
We just came out with a Numenera supplement called Jade Colossus, and it's now the kind of thing where if somebody asked me, I like Numenera, I've got the core book, what should I get it next? Sure. I'm going to say Jade Colossus.
Okay.
Because it's an adventure, but it's also a complete system for creating your own ruins in the world of Numenera. And a lot of people say, Numenera is kind of weird, I don't know quite how to capture that as a game master. Jade Colossus has got you covered.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have one last question for you, Monty.
All right.
And it's coming out of the blue for you. I've asked every one of my interview subjects this so far at Gen Con.
Okay.
And of course, you've been to plenty of Gen Cons.
I have.
This is the 50th Gen Con. Would you like to share one of your favorite Gen Con memories with our viewers?
Yeah, so
Because everybody's got one.
so it was about 2006, I want to say, Gen Con. So about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. We had, I had just released this book, and it was called Tolus, and it was a campaign setting for D20.
Okay.
And Tolus was a 600 and some page, huge hardcover book that weighed, I want to say about 5 or 6 pounds.
Gosh.
And so we had a contest at Gen Con that if you signed up for this contest and you held the book, you had to hold it at arm's length.
I think I know where this might be going, right?
And the last person who was holding it got to keep it, because this is an expensive book.
Sure, right.
And watching these guys go through this sort of horrible physical challenge, and it came down to 2 guys, and they were both just so bound and determined.
Beads of sweat.
Oh, like you wouldn't believe. And so I actually started worrying, one of these guys is going to have a heart attack or something.
Sure.
So I just said, you both get the book. You both got it. Yeah.
Kind of like the last person with their hand on the car wins the car.
Exactly.
That's an awesome story. Monte, thank you so much for taking some time out. It's super, super busy. Actually, it's a little slower than we've seen when we've passed by, which is great. Gave us a bit of time to talk. But thank you so much for chatting with me.
Absolutely.
It's awesome to meet you, and enjoy Gen Con.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
Thank you.